To prove that humans and zombies could have offspring, I worked up the nerve to tie up a fairly clean female zombie. However, the zombie coronavirus outbreak suddenly spread, turning nearly 90% of the human population into zombies. Strangely, I accidentally activated a dating simulator system that had nothing to do with the end of the world. And right at that moment, a zombie girl with a beautiful face suddenly appeared before me. Instantly, I realized the system hadn't specified that conquest targets had to be human. Besides, how could I possibly waste the chance to get a zombie woman this beautiful? Without hesitation, I pulled a rope from my pocket. Waiting for the right moment, I threw the rope with all my strength and managed to tie up the female zombie perfectly. In an instant, she let out an extremely loud scream, but the very next second, I had already stuffed cloth into her mouth. Seeing a living human in front of her, the female zombie immediately went into a rage. Her small head tried hard to headbutt me, but I quickly caught her hands. Just then, a system notification sound rang in my mind. Congratulations to the host for completing the hand-holding mission. Conquest target, Sen Kingwoo. Identity, female college student. Current status, zombie. Affection level, 0. Hand-holding reward, 100 kilograms of raw meat. First kiss reward, zombie virus vaccine. Full conquest reward, gene purification serum. Looking at the list of rewards appearing before me, my eyes nearly popped out. With just this 100 kilogram of raw meat alone, I no longer had to worry about food. Not to mention the 2 amazing rewards after that, but the hardest challenge right now was how to raise Sen Kingwoo's affection level. My mind raced. I decided to shower her with a few trial attempts first. As my hand reached out and pulled the cloth from Sen Kingwoo's mouth, she immediately let out a deafening roar at me. The terrifying sound of her teeth grinding sent chills down my spine. Without much fuss, I quickly took a piece of raw meat from the system and hurriedly fed it into her mouth. Her roaring died down at once. She began devouring the meat ravenously. Watching this, all I could do was sigh in resignation. It seemed that for now, hopes of a first kiss would remain just a dream. Suddenly, the door across the way made a sound and opened. A man and a woman stepped out. The woman spoke up right away without hesitation. "Bro, my husband and I haven't eaten in 2 days. Your food is so plentiful you can even give some to a zombie. Could we ask for a little?" I knew the two of them very well. The man's name was Sen Liang, and the woman was Lin Wanqi. They were a young married couple who relied on food delivery services. At their place, there was no food supply at all. In my previous life, I had been far too trusting. I hadn't given their words a second thought, and foolishly shared my food with them. In the end, they repaid kindness with betrayal. While I was out searching for food, they cleaned out my room completely, even locking the door from outside. No matter how hard I screamed, they refused to open it. People that ungrateful. How could I be foolish enough to give them food again? The moment that thought crossed my mind, the system interface immediately appeared before my eyes. Her name was Lin Wanqi. Status, someone's wife. Affection level, 0. Hand-holding reward, 100 kilograms of fresh fruits and vegetables. First kiss reward, a fully furnished house with an area of 120 square meters. And the reward for full conquest, a luxury villa spanning 1,000 square meters. Seeing these rewards from the system, I couldn't help but smile. This was a full 100 kilograms of fresh fruits and vegetables. Even though I still had 100 kilograms of meat from the system. In these hard times, besides just filling the stomach, getting balanced nutrition mattered too. Seeing me smile, the married couple assumed I'd agreed to their request. Sen Liang even asked shamelessly right away. First, he asked for 5 kilograms of pork and then 3 barrels of clean water. I almost laughed out of sheer annoyance at them. When did I ever agree to anything? Even if my food was so abundant it would never run out, I'd rather give it to a dog than to them. The couple failed to grasp the situation. Thanks. After saying that, I carried Sen Kingwoo straight back to my room without looking back. Sen Liang gritted his teeth in anger, but didn't dare act out, afraid of the zombie right beside me. Once back in the room, I tied Sen Kingwoo to a chair. I also opened the system panel. What surprised me was that Sen Kingwoo's affection level had actually risen by 5 points. This reminded me of the past, from my previous life, when there had been zombies that evolved and gained intelligence. Could it be that Sen Kingwoo might also evolve just from me feeding her a piece of meat? Thinking about this, I took a few more pieces of raw meat from the system space and fed her again. This raised her affection level to 10 points. At first I meant to keep feeding her, but seeing her belly already bulging, I decided to stop. After stuffing the rag back into her mouth, I began planning my next move. A month after the zombie virus epidemic, extreme cold weather would arrive. I had to make the most of the more than 20 days remaining to prepare adequate supplies and medicine. Those things were still manageable. The most critical thing was making sure the house was safe. Right now I had no guidance to go on. A safe house had to be not only sturdy, but also able to offer a comfortable temperature even amid extreme cold weather. Finding a ready-made building meeting all those criteria was genuinely difficult. Based on my memories from my previous life, there was no such place anywhere in Binhai City. Suddenly, I remembered the first kiss reward from Lin Wanqi. I immediately called out to the system. System, is the house you're giving as a reward already built, or can it just appear out of thin air? The system answered, all house rewards are created from nothingness. The host may choose the construction location anywhere. What if I have special requirements for the house? Say, made of titanium and equipped with a secret escape route, a storage room, plus medical and communication equipment. The system paused for a moment, then replied, the host needs to provide a blueprint for the building. Also, communication and medical equipment are not included in this package. The host will need to supply those separately. Hearing the system's explanation, my heart felt lighter. Now, the problem of a safe house seemed to be solved. Suddenly, there was a knock at the front door. Lin Wanqi stood alone outside. She had been waiting quite a while and hadn't seen anyone come to open the door. She felt extremely anxious. On either side of the dark corridor, who knew if a zombie might suddenly appear? Just as she was about to give up, the door opened, and Lin Wanqi's expression lit up with happiness. But when she saw the weapon I was holding, her heart immediately started pounding. She quickly said, don't get the wrong idea. I'm not carrying any weapon. I frowned, studying her closely. Lin Wanqi noticed my gaze too. Had this been the past, she would have already slapped me. I'd like to ask you for a little food. I glanced at her with disgust. No way. I won't do you any favors. As long as you give me a little food, I will. But I was completely unmoved by her flattery. Then what? If she wasn't going to say it, I'd just close the door. Hearing that, Lin Wanqi didn't budge an inch. Aren't you worried a zombie might suddenly show up from outside? The moment she finished speaking, a groaning sound came from the end of the corridor. Lin Wanqi's face instantly turned pale with fear. She was forced to step inside the house. Just as I was about to close the door, my gaze met Sen Liang's, who was across the way. The moment he realized I'd spotted him, he immediately pulled his head back. I closed the door gently and let out a quiet laugh. Truly a coward, just like a turtle skilled at hiding. Inside the house, Sen Qingwu saw Lin Wanqi and instantly flew into a rage. Terrified, Lin Wanqi kept backing away, screaming to keep her distance. Why do you keep a zombie in your home? Aren't you scared? I answered flatly. What's there to be scared of? It's just a zombie, isn't it? My remark unwittingly made her compare me to Sen Liang. She thought to herself, if only my husband had even a fraction of this man's courage, he wouldn't have had to flee here and feel this ashamed. Thinking about that, Lin Wanqi sighed. Just tell me, what do I need to do for you to give me food? A few minutes later, she came back to the living room. In an irritated tone, she snapped at me. I've done everything you asked. Where's the food? I deliberately opened the fridge slowly so she could see it was full of fresh meat. At that moment, Lin Wanqi considered knocking me unconscious. But in the end, she thought better of it. Truth be told, I had already been on guard against her movements too. Lin Wanqi didn't dare do anything. This left me a bit disappointed. I took out about half a kilo of pork and tossed it down in front of her. Her face soured as she stared at the meat on the floor. Is this all you're giving me? That's already plenty. I originally only meant to give you a quarter kilo. Lin Wanqi failed to grasp how precious this half kilo of meat was in this chaotic world. All she could remember was when Sen Liang had married her. The bride price he'd given was only 880,000. On the property deed, her name wasn't even listed. Lin Wanqi took a deep breath. In the end, she still bent down and picked up the pork on the ground, then walked away with a cold expression. She looked utterly humiliated. Rather than anger, I felt pleased. The more she suffered, the more satisfying my sense of vengeance became. After that, I happily opened the system panel. The house and the vegetables were all ready to be claimed. Although this 100 square meter house was a bit cramped, I had a plan to deal with that. As long as I could find another woman with an identity similar to Lin Wanqi's, I could expand it beyond the 100 square meter base. The only remaining problem now was the safe house blueprint. Based on memories from my previous life, there was a group of survivors at Binhai University. Among them, there might well be an architecture student. It seemed I had no choice but to go out. The next morning, I began scavenging for supplies. My main target was Unit 504 across the way. Skillfully, I bent a wire and inserted it into the keyhole, and the lock opened easily. Once inside, I heard the sound of someone chewing coming from the bedroom. I opened the bedroom door slowly and saw an elderly white-haired zombie chewing on a corpse. I muttered under my breath, truly horrifying. I immediately grabbed a kitchen knife and swung it at the zombie. Who would have thought the attack wouldn't cause much damage at all, and instead only made it angrier? It turned and lunged at me blindly. I kicked it in the chest, sending it flying backward. I then advanced again and struck it several more times until it finally stopped moving altogether. By around midday, I had finally finished searching through the 6 rooms on the 5th floor. I killed 3 zombies and found a box of juice, 7 bottles of various pills, and a barrel of protein powder. Even though the haul was substantial, that sharp kitchen knife had ended up ruined. Fortunately, I found a baseball bat. I swung it a few times and it felt quite comfortable in my hand. Meanwhile, Lin Wanqi and Sen Liang watched from a crack in their door, witnessing the entire process of me slaughtering zombies. My overly intense performance left the two of them stunned into silence for a moment. They were grateful they hadn't bothered me earlier. Only after hearing the sound of a door closing elsewhere did the two of them dare to open their and step out. They carefully checked room after room, hoping to find food I might have overlooked. Unfortunately, I had been too thorough. The two of them found nothing at all. Not a scrap of food. Sen Liang's eyes darted around. Too bad. Maybe you could ask him for food again? Lin Wanqi's face showed clear reluctance. Just ate yesterday, so I'm not that hungry yet. Can't we just wait a while before you go? Lin Wanqi said. I'm not hungry right now, but sooner or later I will be. Are you going to wait until every last scrap of food goes to that zombie before you finally come asking? Seeing her hesitate, Sen Liang grabbed her hand, all sincerity and devotion. Honey, I want us to keep living together. We can hold out until the rescue team arrives. Looking at her husband's pleading eyes, Lin Wanqi gritted her teeth. Fine, I'll go. The moment she stepped into my apartment, Lin Wanqi caught the smell of something delicious cooking. I'd just come out of the kitchen with a rice cooker full of boiled potatoes. I cracked open a bottle of malt juice, settled onto the sofa, and started eating. The smell made her swallow hard, but since I said nothing, she just stood there awkwardly. Almost forgot about you, I said after a few bites, as if it had just occurred to me. I got up, grabbed a plate, and piled it with meat. Lin Wanqi assumed it was for her and reached out eagerly, but I walked right past her to the sofa and pulled the gag out of Sen Jinwu's mouth instead. The zombie girl immediately buried her face in the plate and ate like she was starving. Lin Wanqi's face turned deeply awkward. She cleared her throat to change the subject. Did you clean the whole 5th floor today? Yeah, I'm planning to leave, gathering more supplies before I go. What, you're leaving? There are zombies everywhere out there. Where exactly are you going? Her eyes went wide. I smiled thinly. What, you don't want me to go? Her face flushed with anger. Who said I don't want you to go? I'd honestly rather you die out there. What do you actually want from me? I want to trade food with you. Even as she said it, worry flickered in her eyes. If I left with all the food, wouldn't she and Sen Liang starve? I could barely hold back a laugh. I'd figured Lin Wanqi would come crawling back eventually. I just didn't expect her to have this much nerve. 4 days passed in a blur. I'd searched the whole building by now. Sen Jingwu's appetite had gotten scarier by the day. Half a pound of meat used to be plenty. Now 2.5 pounds wasn't enough. Her stomach never even bulged. If her affinity level weren't climbing, I honestly wouldn't have bothered feeding her anymore. Whether she understood or not, I started threatening her anyway. I've fed you for 6 days straight. Try anything funny, bite me again, and I'll leave you here to die alone. She didn't snarl like before. Instead, she opened her mouth, waiting to be fed. Bite me and I stop feeding you. Understood? You're quiet, so I'll take that as a yes. I reached toward her slowly, then yanked back, shouting no. She froze for a second, tilting her head to look at me. I tried again carefully. She bit anyway. We went back and forth like this a dozen times. Right when I was about to give up, she finally stopped biting and just stared at me blankly, as if trying to read my face to judge whether the food was safe to eat. I was thrilled inside. I shook my head gently at her. She seemed to understand and truly didn't bite again. Overjoyed, I grabbed another piece of meat, held it out, and nodded. This time she ate it immediately. I tried a few more times, and each time she waited for my nod before eating. To check whether she was only holding back because she was tied up, I decided on one more test. I untied her and set a plate of meat on the coffee table. Sen Jingwu got up, stumbling, and walked toward me. She glanced at the meat, then shot me a wary look and pointed a finger at the plate. My heart leapt. I nodded at her. Only then did she pick up the plate and start eating hungrily. Her table manners were still terrible, but the important thing was her affinity was only at 40 and she'd already stopped attacking me. If that's the case, once her affinity hits 100, wouldn't I basically have a well-behaved zombie little sister? This isn't a romance system at all. This is clearly a pet training system for masters and servants. Meanwhile, Sen Liang had been on edge for days, knowing I'd be leaving soon. Whether for supplies or revenge, he wasn't sure. He didn't want me leaving alive, but he also knew he couldn't pull it off alone, not against someone who could fight off zombies single-handed. So he cooked up another scheme involving his wife. Honey, we can't just let that guy leave. At the very least, not with food. Why don't you go borrow food from him one more time? Then, once he's asleep, unlock the door and let me in. We'll finish him off together when we get the chance. Out of guilt, Lin Wanqi almost always went along with whatever he wanted, and she nodded. Sen Liang lit up. Perfect. Once it's dark, we move. I'll get ready. Watching her husband's back as he walked off, Lin Wanqi smiled bitterly. She didn't even ask for the details of the plan, as if she already knew exactly what it would involve. Since I planned to leave the next morning, I turned in early. But no sooner had I lain down than I heard a knock. I opened the door with a faint smile. Hungry again already? Lin Wanqi cursed him silently, wanting badly to punch me, but she held back and forced a seductive expression instead. not just hungry. I stepped aside to let her through. Come in. Just as she walked past me, I raised my hand and smacked her rear. You owe me one more cookie. The jolt of it left me genuinely impressed. Lin Wansi grabbed her backside, glaring at me furiously but not daring to say a word. The sight of her fuming in silence had me laughing out loud. Turns out being the villain feels this good. I felt zero sympathy for her. This was exactly how people had treated me in my past life. Call it karma. Lin Wansi bowed her head, eyes blazing with rage. Just wait until tonight. We'll see if you're still laughing then. A few hours later, Lin Wansi emerged trembling, clutching the wall for support. The distance from the bedroom to the door was barely a dozen steps, but it took her several minutes to cross it. The moment the door opened, Sen Liang slipped inside. Is he asleep? Perfect. I'll finish him off right now. He tightened his grip on the fruit knife in his hand. But he hadn't taken more than a few steps when he spotted a shadow standing in the bedroom doorway, and it scared him half to death. Didn't you say he was asleep? Lin Wansi was startled too, but she immediately sensed something was wrong. That's his pet zombie. How did it get loose from its leash? Honey, should we just run? Sen Liang's mind raced. Even though he was afraid of the zombie, he knew this was his one shot. Waste tonight, and there'd be no other chance. Besides, Sen Jingwu looked dazed and slow, which gave him the wrong idea that he could handle her himself. Still, to be safe, he whispered to Lin Wansi, Honey, distract her, I'll take him from behind. Don't worry, I won't let her hurt you. In truth, he'd already decided he'd sacrifice his wife the moment it became convenient. Not that Lin Wansi loved him enough to die for him anyway. Just then, my irritated voice rang out from the bedroom. It's the middle of the night. What's all this noise? Both their hearts nearly stopped. You're still awake? With you two making this much racket? Even if I'd been asleep, I'd be up by now. Seeing the relaxed smile on my face, Lin Wansi's face went pale. Liang, get the zombie to hold her back. Let's run. You mean her? Under their disbelieving stares, I raised my hand and stroked Sen Jingwu's head. And instead of attacking me, she let herself be petted obediently. Both of them were completely stunned. How is that possible? She doesn't even look like a zombie, and now her temperament isn't like one either. Sen Liang suddenly shoved Lin Wansi toward me and bolted for the door. He'd barely gone a few steps before I caught up and took him down with one swing of my bat. Wait, there's something I need to tell you. He begged not to be killed, but I wasn't in the mood for small talk and finished him off without hesitation. Watching that, Lin Wansi was terrified out of her mind. This was all Sen Liang's idea. He's the one who wanted to hurt you. It has nothing to do with me. Please, forgive me. I swear I'll serve you like my master from now on. She still believed I couldn't bring myself to kill her. But I said coldly, you're not sorry for what you did. You're only sorry you're about to die. It's too late for that. The next morning, I left the apartment on a motorcycle with Sen Jingwu. The engine noise drew a swarm of zombies along the way, but they could only watch us speed off into the distance. Once we reached Binhai University, to shake the zombies trailing us, I looked for any building to duck into. Suddenly, someone called out to me from a window. I hesitated a moment, then abandoned the bike and ran toward the voice. The person who'd called out quickly stepped back from the window when they saw me coming. I braced one hand on the sill and vaulted inside smoothly. Sen Jingwu's body, though, was too stiff to climb. She just stood frozen outside the window. A few kind-hearted students moved to help her, but I waved them off. No need, I've got it. I leaned out, gripped her under the arms, and pulled her in with barely any effort. A young man who looked like a rich kid spoke up. You must be the one my father sent to save us, right? This guy, Gu Chengyu, wrote on his status as the mayor's son, bragging to everyone that his father would send people to rescues, which was how he'd ended up leading this group of survivors. I ignored his outstretched hand. Who are you? Am I supposed to know you? Gu Chengyu's face soured instantly. He'd only said that to show off, and he hadn't expected me to refuse him even that much face. He switched to playing the leader. In other words, you're a survivor just like us. If so, you follow our rules. One of his lackeys stepped forward, trying to grab my backpack. I knocked his hand away and stepped back. What do you want? For everyone to survive, hand over your supplies. We'll distribute them fairly. I scoffed. Gu Chengyu deliberately raised his voice so everyone could hear. If everyone were as selfish as you, we'd have all starved to death long ago. We do this to use our supplies as efficiently and fairly as possible. I'd had enough. I cut him off. Your lives and deaths are none of my business. I have no intention of joining your group, so I'm not handing over anything. Gu Chengyu smiled coldly and pointed out the window. Then I'm sorry, but please leave. Outside the window, the zombies I'd lured earlier were already clawing at each other trying to climb up, drooling. Of course I wasn't going anywhere. I hadn't accomplished what I'd come here for yet. There were plenty of classrooms here. I'd stay a few days before moving on. Since I was an outsider, the students sided with Gu Chengyu and closed in on me, furious. How dare you talk to our young master like that? If we hadn't saved you, you'd already be dead. You're an outsider. What right do you have to stay in our classrooms? I laughed. In a world that's already ended, you want to lecture me? And even if I insisted on staying, what exactly would you do about it? A bunch of pampered kids who've never even seen blood, going up against someone who's crawled out of an ocean of blood and a mountain of corpses. The tension was about to boil over when a beautiful girl in a long dress walked in, her presence gentle. "Luhee, what's going on here?" "This guy wants to stay here. We were about to kick him out." Luhee frowned. "If he wants to stay, let him. There are plenty of empty classrooms. Why kick someone out? That's basically sentencing them to death." The students hesitated, glancing at Gu Chengyu until he nodded. Only then did the crowd disperse. Luhee's gaze drifted to Sen Jingwu. "Is this your sister?" "You could say that." "Hi there, what's your name? Why are your eyes so red?" I jumped in quickly. "She wears colored contacts." "My sister's a bit introverted, doesn't like talking. Don't take it personally." Luhee bought the excuse without a second thought. After all, what zombie these days doesn't actively try to bite people? "Well, you can stay here for now. Floors 1 through 3 are safe, pick any empty classroom. But 4th floor and above is very dangerous." By afternoon, a dozen or so students were lining up in front of a classroom marked as the storeroom, waiting for their daily food ration. Most only got a few biscuit crumbs. Gu Chengyu himself was hiding in the storeroom, quietly eating a chicken thigh he'd swindled off the top. But right then, a rich smell of meat drifted through the air. The whole line broke up as everyone chased the scent down to the 2nd floor, where I was cooking. Their eyes went bloodshot at the sight of it. "Hey, can we trade some biscuits for a bit of your food?" I ignored him completely. That moldy junk isn't just tasteless, it won't fill you up either. He still wanted to argue, but I couldn't be bothered and walked out with a bowl of meat. "Anyone want to eat?" Everyone nodded eagerly. I cleared my throat. "Is anyone here an architecture major?" Dead silence. After a long pause, someone finally answered quietly. Architecture students were in another building. They're probably all zombies by now. I was disappointed. My whole reason for coming here was to find someone who could design a safe house layout. Seems like a wasted trip. But right then, "I'm an architecture major." Everyone turned toward the voice. It was a girl with pigtails, black-framed glasses, and a shy demeanor. Under so many stares, she was clearly nervous. I eyed her suspiciously. That timid, meek look made it hard not to suspect she was just here to con some food. She seemed to notice my skeptical stare and forced herself to speak up. "My name's Ruan Wanyuan. I'm ranked 1st in my class. If you don't believe me, ask anyone. I believe you. But can you actually draw building plans?" She looked up, startled. Of course I wasn't just taking her word for it. A system panel had appeared before my eyes. Target, Ruan Wanyuan. Affinity 0. Handshake reward, choice of solar power generator or wastewater purifier. First kiss reward, full surveillance system. Full conquest reward, 4 automated turrets plus 100 rounds of specialized ammunition. Damn, the rewards just kept getting better. If I could get them all, my safe house would upgrade dramatically. Hearing my question, Ruan Yuan nodded rapidly. "Then can you design something a bit more special?" A giant question mark practically appeared over her head, but for the sake of food, she agreed anyway. Okay, I'll take the job. Payment is a bowl of meat and a bowl of vegetables every day." Ruan Yuan, who'd figured just meat alone was already a win, was thrilled to hear there'd be vegetables too, and accepted happily. Someone was pleased, someone wasn't. Gu Chengyu shot me a sharp look before slinking off with his men. Near the stairs, a lackey named Lue glanced left and right to make sure no one was following, then spoke up. "Young master, that guy's way too arrogant. Should we just take him out?" Gu Chengyu thought it over. "No. You saw how he fought those zombies earlier. We're no match for him." As much as he wanted to teach me a lesson, he simply didn't have the strength. Lue still wanted to say more, but Gu Chengyu had already turned and walked away. Lue scoffed at his retreating back. "Easy for you to say when you're eating well. Of course you're not tempted by that food. I'm still starving here." Meanwhile, Ruan Yuan finished eating, licking the corner of her mouth, clearly still not full. "Want more?" I asked. "No need. I've already spent today's pay. If I take tomorrow's ration now, I'll starve tomorrow." "Well then, let's get to work. Tell me what you want." "I want a safe house layout, about 100 square meters. The structure needs to be very strong, and it needs a storeroom, an escape route, a rest area, and a bathroom. 100 square meters is way too small for a proper safe house. You'll need space for growing crops and raising livestock too, won't you?" I looked at her, slightly surprised. This girl's thinking was sharper than mine. "Exactly right. So you'll need to leave room for expansion too." "Understood. I'll get started right away." Curious, I asked. "How long will the design take?" "Maybe a few days. If revisions are needed, 2 or 3 more." My brows furrowed. According to my memory from a past life, the cold wave would hit in a little over a week. If I wasn't in the safe house by then, I'd freeze to death in this leaky school building. I need this finished in 7 days. "Can you manage that?" Ruan Wanyuan looked briefly uncertain, but her eyes quickly hardened with resolve. "No problem. 7 days it is." I took Sen Jingwu up to the rooftop to scout for a good safe house location. Before long, I found an empty plot on the hill behind the school, blocked in front by the school building, backed by a mountain. Unless you entered through the school, this spot was hard to find, and there weren't many zombies around either. I grabbed my baseball bat, ready to clear the area, then climbed out through a first-floor window. 4 zombies were wandering nearby. Even taking one out carefully still drew the attention of the other 3. The one leading the charge looked like he'd been a sports major in life. Unlike the sluggish zombies elsewhere, this one moved fast, closing the distance in an instant. I calmly sidestepped and swung my bat at him. Impressive, he could still move after one hit. I swung again. Right then, the 3rd zombie lunged at me. I dropped it with a leg sweep, then finished it off with 2 more strikes. The last one lunged too. I didn't have time to get back up and went down hard. It sank its teeth into my bat, chewing hard. I cursed under my breath, trying to pry it off but failed after several tries. Right as I was gathering strength to try again, a small, slender hand suddenly grabbed the zombie's neck and flung it away. I turned, startled. The hand belonged to Sen Jingwoo. The tossed zombie scrambled back up snarling, and before I could even stand, Sen Jingwoo had already gripped its neck and wrenched it hard. There was a sickening crack, and the zombie's head lolled as it collapsed to the ground. I hadn't expected the gentle, delicate-looking Sen Jingwoo to have this much strength in her. My suspicion had been right. She'd really evolved. I'd noticed her skin shift from ashen gray to pink before. Now it was confirmed. I opened the system panel. Her affinity had jumped to 50. Turns out she's far easier to win over than any woman. No need for designer bags or makeup, just a bit of food, and she'll even protect me. Sen Jingwoo's face showed no expression at all as I studied her, as if she hadn't just been in a fight. After a short rest, I kept clearing zombies from the area. Sen Jingwoo only stepped in when my life was actually at risk. Otherwise, she just stood by watching. Seems like if I want her to do more, I'll need to keep raising her affinity. I stayed busy until it got dark, then headed back to the school building. In the men's restroom, I got ready to wash off the blood on my body. I noticed Sen Jingwoo had followed me in to bathe. First time for that, in front of what was technically a woman. It felt a bit awkward, but I reminded myself she was just a zombie. After a quick wash, I was about to get dressed when I glanced at Sen Jingwoo. I wasn't sure zombies could even sweat, but the fight had left her covered in blood too, so I decided to help her wash up as well. Sen Jingwoo stared straight at me. Even knowing there was no concept of gender in her head, my face still flushed. I steeled myself and quickly undid her clothes. Her skin, white as jade, was nearly blinding. Just looking at it made my pulse race. I reminded myself sharply that she was a zombie, which calmed me down enough to help her clean up. A minute later, once we were done, I looked up and met her eyes. There. You should feel better now, right? But she just kept staring straight into mine. Different from before, there seemed to be some emotion stirring in her gaze. Not sure if it was just my imagination, I leaned in closer, curious, wanting a better look. The next instant, Sen Jingwoo's body suddenly tilted toward me. I never expected her to attack out of nowhere, and there was no time to dodge. But the vicious bite I braced for never came. Instead, a soft touch, faintly sweet. My mind went blank with shock, and then a system notification chimed. Congratulations, host. You've received the first kiss reward, zombie virus vaccine. Once used, you'll be immune to zombie virus infection. Only then did it register. Checking Sen Jingwoo's affinity again, I was stunned once more. Just from bathing together, her number had leapt to 60, crossing straight into the like tier. I closed the panel. Do you have feelings now? I asked her. Sen Jingwoo tilted her head, looking innocent and adorable. Clearly a question that complex was beyond her. I switched to something simpler. Do you understand what I'm saying? This time she nodded. I tried a few more questions, but the moment they got even slightly more complicated, she just froze. Getting her to act independently still seemed unrealistic for now, but as her affinity kept rising, maybe she really could recover more of her human feelings and eventually understand more complex instructions. For now, better to get out of this restroom. Back in the classroom, I asked Ruan and learned that the mini fire station was right beside the main gate of the administration building. But reaching it meanwhile, on the 3rd floor, 2 shadows crept toward the stairs. Are we actually going to be okay doing this? One of them asked nervously. The other answered dismissively. What could possibly go wrong? However strong he is, there's only 2 of them, and one's just a little girl. Taizu, are you seriously scared of a girl? This one was Lue. Soon the pair, one leading, one trailing, slipped into my classroom. The front and back doors were locked from inside, but that didn't stop Lue, an old hand at sneaking off campus. He fiddled with the window until it gave, then swung himself inside in one motion. Taizu wasn't as nimble. He hooked one leg over the sill and sat straddling it. Just as he was about to bring the other leg over, he noticed a small figure inside stiffly rising to its feet. Terror seized him so hard he stammered. Lue. Someone's in here. Lue tensed instantly, but it was already too late. He felt a cold sensation spread through his chest. A slender arm had punched straight through it. Taizu, terrified out of his mind, spun around to flee. But his chest too was pierced by the same hand. Sen Jingwoo stared at her blood-soaked hand. A powerful hunger surged up in her mind, urging her to lick the blood off. But in the end, she managed to hold herself back. The next morning, I woke to find Sen Jingwoo eagerly showing me the blood on her hand. My gaze sharpened. What happened here? She glanced toward the window. I followed her gaze. 2 bodies lay on the ground below, both with gaping holes torn through their chests. A cleaver hung nearby. Seeing that, I understood immediately. But right then, Sen Jingwoo grabbed my hand and shook it. I got what she meant and took her to the restroom to wash the blood off. Then we went back to the classroom, where I tossed both bodies out the window. Ruan Yuanyuan showed up with her laptop, nodded at me, and got to work. Not long after, Gu Chungyu's face appeared at the door. Where's Lu Ye? What did you do to him? I looked at him, unfazed. Who's Lu Ye? Don't play dumb with me. The one with the dyed green hair. Only then did I realize that was the name of one of last night's bodies, but I kept up the act. I don't know what you're talking about. I've never even heard of a Lu Ye. You think I'll believe he just vanished the moment you showed up? If it wasn't you, who else could it be? Keep it down. If someone's missing, go find them yourself. Don't bother me with it. Our argument drew a crowd of students, Lu He among them. What's going on? What happened? She asked, confused. Gu Chungyu's tone softened. Lu Ye and Taizu are missing. Lu He considered it. Maybe they went out looking for supplies. No way. They wouldn't go anywhere without my say-so. I cut in. You're awfully sure they'd actually obey you. Maybe they were sick of you and slipped out while you were asleep. Gu Chungyu's eyes went red with fury. He wanted badly to lunge at me, but he knew he was no match. Lu He tried to smooth things over. Maybe they had business off campus and they'll turn up soon. Let's just be patient. Fine, I'll trust Lu He on this one. But if they're not back by tonight, I'm coming to you for answers. With that threat delivered, Gu Chungyu stormed off, his face dark. Passing the storeroom, a bespectacled guard reported to him. Young master, the food supply is almost gone. Then send people out to find more. Yes sir, right away. As the guard turned to leave, Gu Chungyu called after him. Wait, go by the list. Every name on that list belonged to people who weren't obedient enough. Leaving people like that around was just asking for trouble. Better to send them out to scavenge. If they died out there, all the better, it'd save on rations. Clever, really, killing several birds with one stone. The corner of Gu Chungyu's mouth curled into a satisfied smile. Keep this up, and before long, this place would be filled with nothing but people who obeyed him completely. And when that day came, he could finally settle the score with whoever had made him lose face. Suddenly, a soft coaxing voice drifted over from a distance. Young master, so this is where you were. I had such a hard time finding you. Gu Chungyu looked up to see Jiang Weiwei approaching, done up in heavy makeup. Why'd you come here? Where's Lu He? Why isn't she with you? A classmate's running a fever. She's helping look after her. A lecherous grin spread across his face, with Lu He busy. Wasn't this the perfect chance to blow off some steam? His stare turned sleazy as it landed on Jiang Weiwei. What did you come here for? She bit her lip. Can a girl come find you without a reason? Of course you can. Funny enough, I've been missing you too. A flash of embarrassment crossed her eyes. Ugh, stop it. You're making me blush. Watching her act, Gu Chungyu felt heat rush through him, desire flaring instantly. He couldn't wait to wrap his arms around her waist, but she slipped away. Young master, aren't you worried someone will see? I'll be so embarrassed. Gu Chungyu laughed heartily. Tell you what, I need to check the supplies in the storeroom anyway. Want to come with me? Jiang Weiwei nodded eagerly. They walked into the storeroom, one behind the other, and Gu Chungyu locked the door behind them, immediately trying to kiss her. But again she dodged. He grew restless. Now what? Jiang Weiwei glanced first at the dwindling supplies in the storeroom, then said casually, Young master, there doesn't seem to be much food left. There'll be enough until my father's people get here, he answered offhandedly, already undoing his clothes. Enough talk, hurry up, it won't look good if someone finds out. Jiang Weiwei let out a small laugh. Young master, is your father really going to come save you? Gu Chungyu froze. What do you mean by that? But Jiang Weiwei quickly changed the subject, covering her mouth with a giggle. I'm just guessing, don't get so worked up. Oh right, I just remembered Lu He needs my help. Bye, young master. With that she left, leaving Gu Chungyu standing there awkwardly, looking every bit the fool. Meanwhile, while I was out clearing zombies, I heard someone screaming for help in the distance. Bat in hand, I looked toward a large building. A woman was yelling desperately in my direction. My first thought was pure sarcasm. Is this woman trying to get herself killed, screaming at the top of her lungs in the middle of an apocalypse? I knew she was trying to get my attention, but I had zero intention of saving her. Oddly enough, her screaming ended up working in my favor. The zombies scattered across the open area heard the commotion and started drifting toward the source of the noise. Come on, I told Sen Jingwoo, we can head back early. Seeing us about to leave, the woman inside panicked. Where are they going? Didn't they hear me? But watching more and more zombies close in, she was forced to clamp her mouth shut and cry quietly instead. Back in the classroom, I asked Ruan Yuanyuan, did you hear a woman screaming earlier? I did. That was probably Dr. Wenning. You know her? She's our school doctor. I thought it over. You want me to save her? My question made Ruan Yuanyuan's hand pause on the mouse. I just think she might be useful to you. Oh, that building. It's the administration building. Got it. After that, I took Senjin-woo to wash up. 2 more days passed, and the number of surviving students kept shrinking. When I first arrived, there'd been over 50. Now maybe only around 30 remained. Panic was starting to spread. That day, I pointed at Senjin-woo and told Ruan Yuan, watch her for me. I'm heading to the administration building. Not practical to bring her along. The reason I'd waited 2 days before rescuing Wenning was simple. I wanted her truly desperate first, so that when I finally showed up to save her, she'd be all the more grateful. Half an hour later I arrived, but there were a dozen or so zombies roaming the area. No way to quietly clear them all. I had to move fast and decisively. I took a deep breath and sprinted straight for the mini fire station. The zombies noticed me and swarmed in. I ran with everything I had, and right before they could surround me, I made it inside. 2 walkie-talkies, AFAX, Firex, an emergency rope. I grabbed all of it. As I focused on gathering supplies, a zombie had closed to within 10 feet of me without my noticings. Luckily, my reflexes were fast enough. I quickly made my way into the 3rd-floor restroom of the administration building. Wenning's consciousness was already fading in and out. Half conscious, she faintly heard a door being kicked in with a loud bang, then a man's voice. Is she dead? A shame I got here too late. Wenning's eyes snapped open and she screamed with everything she had left. I'm still alive. Please, save me. I tossed the bat toward her. You can still move. If you want to live, hold on to your weapon and don't let go. Wenning gritted her teeth and pulled herself up, leaning against the wall. I can do this. I led Wenning out. A zombie came stumbling toward us. I stepped forward and swung the axe straight into its skull. One hit, and it went completely still. Seeing that, I thought to myself, Wenning, trailing behind, was stunned at how easily I'd killed it. She didn't snap out of it until I'd already reached the top of the stairwell, then hurried to catch up. Plenty of zombies packed the stairwell, all funneling in behind me. Out in the open earlier, I'd had to fend off attacks from every direction. But now, with just one narrow staircase, only one zombie at a time could reach me. With the higher ground on my side, I made short work of them, taking heads and necks one after another. Within a few minutes, zombie corpses were piled up on the stairs. Wenning was awestruck all over again, my figure growing larger and more legendary in her eyes. But suddenly, something gripped her ankle. A female zombie with half her face torn off lay by her feet. Wenning froze in terror, her whole body shaking violently, eyes brimming with tears. I just stood there beside her, doing nothing. You're not going to hit her with that bat? Planning to keep it as a decoration. My words made her face flush. She raised the bat over her head, squeezed her eyes shut, and swung down with all her strength. I watched with a cold, detached gaze. I deliberately let that one zombie slip through. I wanted to use the harshest, most direct method possible to force Wenning to grow quickly. I nodded. Good work. Receiving my praise, Wenning felt a rush of satisfaction she'd never experienced before. Not long after, Ruan Yuan appeared by the window, calling out happily. You're back. Sen Jingwoo stood beside her, face blank, showing no emotion at all. But her eyes tracked us from a distance the whole way. A crowd of curious students had gathered around, Jiang Weiwei among them, eyes sparkling as she watched. As Wenning and I approached the window, Ruan Yuan was about to open it, but Jiang Weiwei beat her to it, throwing the window open and reaching a hand out toward me. I ignored her completely and vaulted through on my own. Wenning, on the other hand, took Jiang Weiwei's hand and climbed in with visible effort. Once she'd steadied herself, Wenning said, "Thank you." Jiang Weiwei's smile looked slightly stiff. "You're welcome, Dr. Wenning. Welcome to the group." The other students immediately swarmed Wenning with excited greetings. She was apparently quite popular among them. I ignored the noisy crowd and headed straight upstairs with Sen Jingwoo. "Wait for me." Wenning left the spikes and jogged after me. The students exchanged confused glances, unsure why Dr. Wenning had just walked off like that. Now 4 women stood together at my classroom door at once. Ruan Yuan pushed up her glasses, studying the other 3 of the 4 of them. Only her presence here made any sense. The other 3 had no obvious reason to be there. I was momentarily caught off guard seeing 4 women gathered at the door, but quickly composed myself. I lifted the lid off the pot, and a rich aroma instantly filled the room. All 4 women swallowed hard without meaning to. I served myself and Sen Jingwoo first, then a bowl for Ruan Yuan, who ate while shooting the others a proud glance. Wenning had been starving for days, surviving purely on willpower, so her reaction to the smell was the most extreme of all. She was practically drooling, but she forced herself to thank me first. "Thank you for saving me." A system panel appeared before me. Target, Wenning, Identity, School Doctor, Affinity 50, Handshake Reward, Medical Kit and a secret medical manual skill in various illnesses. First Kiss Reward, Zombie Virus Vaccine. Full Conquest Reward, Fully Equipped Medical Room. I smiled to myself, satisfied. My decision to hold off earlier had paid off. Her affinity had jumped straight to 50. "Want to eat?" I asked. "Yes, absolutely. Work for me. I'll treat you the same as her. A bowl of meat, a bowl of vegetables, every day." Ruan Yuan, eating happily beside her, suddenly found her meat tasting a little less good. Wenning agreed without a second's hesitation. "Deal, no problem." I served her a bowl right away. She dug in ravenously, clearly starved. I turned my attention to the two remaining women. Target Luhi, identity, music major pianist, affinity, 0. Handshake reward, piano playing technique. First kiss reward, complete collection of piano scores. Full conquest reward, musical talent for piano. Target, Zhang Wei, identity, materialistic college girl. Affinity, 10. Handshake reward, a car. First kiss reward, a 100 square meter house. Full conquest reward, a 1,000 square meter mansion. Checking with the system, I learned the car reward could be anything from an ordinary sedan to a Ferrari, an off-road truck, or even a tank. The 100 square meter house was also tempting. It could immediately double the size of my safe house. This Zhang Wei really did seem worth something, whereas Luhe's reward felt underwhelming by comparison. Zhang Wei picked up on the shift in my gaze right away. She flicked her hair back and spoke in a coy tone. "Excuse me, could I work for you too?" Ruan Yuan, standing beside her, shuddered in disgust. But even she never expected that little act to actually work. In her mind, I only took in people who were useful to me. To everyone's surprise, I nodded right away. Sure. Same pay as the other two. Ruan Yuan's eyes went wide. What exactly could Zhang Wei even do to deserve the same treatment as her? As Zhang Wei took the bowl from me, her fingers brushed mine as if by accident. I could see the hesitation in her eyes. "You could also choose to stay here." "Of course I'm choosing to go with you." Zhang Wei was sharp to know that staying here meant a miserable fate. Better to gamble on coming with me. Instead, our little gathering quickly drew a crowd's attention. Whispers spread. "Where do you think they're going? Don't tell me they're actually going to try leaving." "Good riddance, honestly. I never liked them anyway." Luhe, catching the gossip too, frowned. Even though I'd been rude to her the day before, she couldn't just stand by and watch us walk off to our deaths. She pushed through the crowd and blocked my path. "Where are you all headed?" "Away from here. You don't like us anyway, right?" My question left her speechless. Just as she opened her mouth to respond, a voice cut in from behind. "That's true. We've never welcomed you, but the rest can go. Dr. Wenning, you're our school doctor. Please stay here with us. We really need you." Gu Chengyu knew exactly how important a doctor was, clearly trying to use the students to pressure Wenning morally. I nearly lost it. How dare he try to poach my people right in front of me? But before I could speak, Wenning stepped forward. "There's no medicine here at all. Me staying wouldn't help anyone. I should go. But you're a teacher. Even doing nothing, having you around gives everyone peace of mind." Gu Chengyu kept trying to talk her out of it, but Wenning didn't waver, already set on leaving with me. Seeing Wenning wouldn't be swayed, Gu Chengyu couldn't be bothered stopping the others. In his mind, aside from Wenning's slight usefulness, Ruan Yuan and Zhang Wei were just dead weight. "Enough talk, let's go." I was in no mood to argue further and turned to leave. The girls behind me quickly fell in line. Since the apocalypse began, this was the first time Zhang Wei had ever left the school grounds. She glanced around nervously, ready to bolt at any moment. To her relief, there were no living zombies here, just scattered zombie corpses everywhere. I walked to a stretch of empty land behind the school and stopped. Zhang Wei panicked. "Why are you stopping? There's no zombies around, let's hurry up and go." "We're here." "Here? How could anyone live in the middle of nowhere like this? This guy might actually be insane. Should have known better than to come along." I paid her thoughts no mind. My focus was entirely on the system. System, claim the property reward. Detected design blueprint. Build according to the design? Yes. The instant the thought crossed my mind, a steel fortress materialized out of thin air on the once empty plot. Everyone was stunned, speechless. Ruan Yuan was the first to recognize it. The structure matched her design exactly. She stared at me in shock, about to say something, but I cut her off. "No more questions. All you need to know is that I can keep you all alive. That's enough." Zhang Wei's earlier gloom instantly evaporated. In her heart, she was so thrilled she practically wanted to offer herself to me on the spot. I walked straight toward the safe house. The gate was made of titanium alloy, with an electronic fingerprint lock beside it. After registering my own fingerprint, I registered Sen Jingwu's too. As for Wenning and Wan Yuan, that could wait until their affinity hit 60. Zhang Wei, though, her heart was far too calculating, with too many hidden motives. Nothing short of 80 affinity would get her that access. The titanium gate slowly swung open, and I led everyone inside. The space wasn't huge, just one living room, 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, and 1 storeroom. But the system had been generous, not only a full set of furniture, but a diesel generator too, though sadly only a single barrel of fuel came with it. The moment they stepped inside, the women looked around in wonder, occasionally yelping in surprise. "Oh my god, there's a bathtub in here, with hot water too. This storeroom is huge and it's even got refrigeration. Amazing, there's actually a bed in the bedroom. And even a couch in the living room." Hearing their amazement filled me with satisfaction. And this was only the beginning. As long as I kept completing affinity missions, my safe house would keep growing, gaining more and more features. Zhang Wei took the initiative. Let's split up the rooms. Boss gets his own room. I'll room with Ruan Yuan, and Dr. Wenning and Sen Jingwu can share. As soon as she finished, Ruan Yuan objected. I don't want a room with you. I want a room with Dr. Wenning. Sen Jingwu stayed silent, only quietly tugging at the hem of my shirt. Fine then, Boss and his sister share, Ruan Yuan and Dr. Wenning share. But Ruan Yuan still wasn't satisfied. What gives you the right to a room all to yourself? You've seen the situation with Boss and his sister. You don't want a room with me either, so I guess I'm stuck alone, or here's an idea. How about you sleep in the living room by yourself? Are you deliberately trying to start something with me? Seeing the two of them about to erupt into a full fight, I raised my voice. Enough, no more arguing. Just go with Jiang Weiwei's suggestion. The moment I spoke, both fell silent instantly. Ruan Yuan angrily dragged Wenning back to their room. Jiang Weiwei also shut her door. No idea what she was up to in there. I'd wanted to look around the safe house a bit more, but Sen Jingwu tugged at me and wouldn't let go, pointing toward the remaining room and saying, in a childlike voice, 2 words, sleep. Part of me wanted to say no, but what choice did I have? Her wide eyes were impossible to refuse. Besides, my nerves had been strung tight for days. I really did need proper rest. The moment I lay down, Sen Jingwu pressed herself against me, burrowing into my arms like a kitten. I rolled over and wrapped my arms around her. Not long after, I drifted off to sleep. As a zombie, Sen Jingwu never felt tired. She just buried her small face against my chest, quietly listening to my heartbeat. At the same time, back at the school, a student discovered the building that had suddenly appeared and ran off to report it to Gu Chengyu. Hearing the report, Gu Chengyu was confused. He had no memory of any strange building behind the school, none at all, and yet somehow, in his mind, it felt as if the building had always been standing there. Even though no one had actually witnessed it materialize from nothing, under the influence of the system's subconscious effect, everyone found its existence perfectly natural. Gu Chengyu looked at the student. You saw with your own eyes that outsider bringing them into that building? Yes, I saw it myself, young master. The building looks pretty solid. Should we just take it by force? Are you an idiot? As far as security goes, isn't our own building already safe enough? A place that big sitting there unused, and you'd rather cram into some tiny shack. Have you lost your mind? I woke up at 5 in the evening. Half conscious, I felt a small hand fumbling around underneath me. Startled, I jolted fully awake and grabbed the offending hand. What are you doing? Sen Jingwu blinked her big innocent eyes without a word. I pinched her round little cheek. Don't play dumb, I know you understand. Hungry. Only then did it register the little one was hungry. She hadn't wanted to wake me, so she'd tried finding food herself, except she had no idea how. She'd been at it for half a day and gotten nowhere. All right, I'll make you something to eat right away. Walking out to the living room, I found the other 3 already there. As soon as Ruan Yuan spotted me, she said, Boss, come look at the CCTV monitor, quick. The screen showed a view of outside the safe house, though it quickly cut out. Is that cotton fluff from a tree? Ruan Yuan asked, puzzled. Wenning, from the north, recognized it immediately. No, that's snow. But the other 2, born and raised here, looked skeptical. You're kidding, this is Binhai. I've never seen snow in my life. Only I understood what was behind this strange phenomenon. The 4th wave of the apocalypse had finally arrived. According to my memory from a past life, this snowfall would last 3 full days, with temperatures dropping steadily the whole time. By the 3rd day, urine would freeze solid into an icicle the instant it hit the ground. This wouldn't do. For these 3 days, I couldn't just sit around waiting to die. I needed to use this early window of snowfall to gather as many supplies as possible. Ruan Yuan, what does the supermarket at your school actually sell? She looked stunned for a moment, but seeing how serious my face was, she answered just as seriously. It turned out the shopping area at Binhai University was less a supermarket and more like a small mall. Everything students needed, food and goods alike, was all there, so students basically never had to leave campus for anything. So a trip to that supermarket is essential, but not right now. We need to wait a bit longer. The next day after lunch, I gave orders to Jiang Weiwei and Wenning. Both of you get ready. You're coming with me and Sen Jingwu, heading out. Hearing this, Jiang Weiwei's expression instantly changed. Given the choice, she'd have happily spent the rest of her life never leaving this safe house. So she started whining. Boss, can I skip this one? I looked at her expressionless. Sure you can, but there's no room here for lazy people. I'm coming, all right? Did I really need to scare her that hard? I added one more line. Don't forget to wear something warm. It's freezing out there. Ruan Yuan, feeling left out, grew anxious. What about me? Your job is drawing. Relax, I'm not going to just kick you out. Hearing that, she finally breathed a sigh of relief. She genuinely thought she'd just been branded lazy. The moment we stepped outside the safe house, snow already lay ankle-deep on the ground, with thick flakes still falling from the sky. Worse still, the temperature outside had clearly dropped below 0. Jiang Weiwei and Wenning, despite layering up in several coats, were still freezing, their voices starting to shake. So cold. Boss, can we just turn back? It's fine. You won't feel the cold once we're in the vehicle. Zhang Weiwei followed my pointing finger, confused, and gasped at the sight of a massive truck parked beside the safe house, her jaw dropping wide enough to swallow an egg whole. Oh my god, where did this truck even come from? I laughed softly. Where else? Straight from the reward you gave me. Honestly, I was torn earlier between an off-road vehicle and an armored car, but given the current situation, a big truck felt like the most reliable choice. And if some strange mutation happens later, who knows? This thing might just turn into an Optimus Prime.